Hello, how are you today? We're so glad that you're with us. We're hosting Christian conference directors this week and the last week of November so that you can think and pray and plan for 2019. Really, the first 3 or 4 months of conferences for 2019. We will have more next year. We'll talk to conference directors more next year for those later months. So stick with us. We've got more to tell you about today, including my guest today. If you want a first-class Christian conference experience that includes an outstanding faculty and a great California location, my guest today is going to make you very, very happy. Hi, I'm Patricia Durkin, and this is Marketers on a Mission. We present marketing tutorials and interviews by and for Christian writers, speakers, and artists. This is episode number 168. West Coast Christian Writers Conference Marketing Director, Laura Christianson. Hello, Laura. How are you today?
I'm just great. How are you, Patricia?
I'm very well. I will give you a heads up. Just this very moment, terrible storm descended. So we should be fine, but if we're not, we'll just work around everything.
All right. We'll play it by ear. The power doesn't go out.
Yes. So tell us about the conference. We first want a little background. Susie Flory is the director, but she didn't start it. It started several years ago. Can you give us some background?
Yes, the conference actually started 25 years ago, and the founder is a wonderful man named John Drury. It was originally called the Christian Writers Seminar, and it took place at the church where John was a pastor. In Castro Valley, California. And it was a ministry of the church, which was fantastic. They just thought, hey, we need to reach out to writers in the San Francisco Bay area. Let's do it. And so John shepherded this conference for many, many years. The very first keynote speaker at the conference was Ethel Hurd. Don't know if you're familiar with Ethel, but on the West Coast, at least, she's known as kind of the matriarch of Christian publishing. She literally wrote the book on Christian publishing. I mean, yeah, she actually did write a book on it. And she has been, she's passed away a few years ago, but she has been such a mentor to so many, many hundreds, thousands, probably millions of Christian writers throughout the world, including me. I am so privileged to have been mentored by Ethel for a while. And so they created this, John and Ethel and many others created this small regional conference where they wanted to help people feel so comfortable and accepted and welcomed and like you're meeting a good friend when you come to the conference. So when John retired and moved up to God's country, aka Washington State, where I live, he handed the conference over to a group of women headed up by the fabulous Susie Flory. And I was one of those people that was asked to be on the board, one of the original board members. And so we made some pretty major changes when we took the conference over. One thing, we no longer were hosted or supported by John's church because he wasn't there anymore. So we changed our model to become completely self-supporting, which was a big step of faith. When you're going from having a church giving you a lot of monetary support and a facility that you don't have to pay for to finding one in the Bay Area, which has very high rents to try to afford when you have no kind of money socked away to start your new conference. So we renamed the conference West Coast Christian Writers because we had a dream that over time we would love to expand the conference from being a regional conference centered in the San Francisco Bay Area to encompass all of the West Coast, which would include all of California, Oregon, Washington, and even British Columbia in Canada. And that's happening. So that's great. We're starting to draw people from many states, even though it still does tend to be a regional conference. We're drawing people from throughout the West Coast and even some other states. And so it made a lot of changes when the new board took over. Mainly, the big change was that John was not really doing the whole thing by himself anymore. he passed it over to a board. I think we originally had 5 people on the board, and now we have 8, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And so the 8 of us work very closely together, and we have all become friends, and we're also writing colleagues. Most of us have known each other for a few years. Mainly we see each other at writers' conferences. But because of the fact that we have become friends, I think that when people come to the conference, they sense that.
Yeah.
And they're like, here's this group of friends that's bringing in all these new friends.
Nice.
So that's really been a big focus of the conference, is to help it be a very friendly, warm, welcoming place, and carrying on John and Ethel's legacy.
So you had already been a part of West Coast, which prior to it being West Coast, both you and Susie, right? Through John's leadership. And
it's kind of an interesting story. One year I was teaching at the Mount Hermon Christian Writers Conference, and I was teaching a major morning track, which is one of their big tracks that goes throughout each day of the conference, on branding and platform. And John Drury attended my major morning track, and so did Ethel Herr, actually. And I had never met John before that, and he sat there. He was right next to me. We were in a boardroom around one of those big, huge boardroom tables, and he was right there next to me the whole time. And about the 3rd day of the track, he came up to me afterwards and he said, "Laura, I'd like you to be a keynote speaker at my conference." And I'm like, "Well, what kind of a conference is it?" I didn't know anything about it at the time. Anyway, he told me about his writers' conference, and so the next year I was the keynote speaker for that conference. And then I came back a couple of times and I taught workshops after that. And so when John retired and we were reinventing the conference, and he asked Susie to be in charge, she remembered me, or Susie and I had also met at writers' conferences and become friends. So she invited me to come on as the marketing director. And I said, "Are you sure? Because I live in Washington State. I don't live in the Bay Area. I'm, 1,000 miles away from you."
I was wondering about that.
But we said, hey, the wonders of the internet, Zoom conference calls, we did it. So, yeah.
Zoom is where it's at, viewers. You got to get Zoom if you need to have a professional presence online. So this is a very typical story. Doesn't fit there is no formula or template to begin a writer's conference, but it's very similar. Somebody had a heart, had a burden. God placed it on them. They answered the call. And over the years, they were faithful, and the people responded, and it grew a little bit more and more and more. And whether it morphs into something more formal or official or larger or not, this is very typical of how almost all the big conferences started out on a smaller scale, didn't they? And then grew as God blessed them and their work. Now, you have a business as well that you do in Seattle, near Seattle, where you live. And what is your business?
It's called Blogging Bistro LLC. That's the actual official business name. And the business, I've been in business now for about 12 years. And after writing, I felt an urge it was around about 2007. I felt God really nudging me to write some books on a specific topic. So I had a couple of nonfiction books published and contributed to several others. But throughout that process, what I discovered is that I really, my heart is to work behind the scenes, helping other writers to get the message out about their books or their writing, their ministry, whatever it happens to be. And so at that time, I started a blogging business. Blogging was brand new, so it was a blog consultancy. And over the years, it has morphed and taken many twists and turns. Have done a lot with social media marketing, so I really keep up to speed on the latest trends with social media. A lot of brand work, a lot of consulting work, and currently am really focusing in on website education and on building custom websites for authors and other entrepreneurs.
That's all?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, Susie is equally busy. Give us a little bit of background for those of us who aren't familiar with Susie, please.
Susie Flory, the director of West Coast Christian Writers, is a collaborative writer who specializes in, I guess you would call it, ghost writing memoirs. And she has written quite a few. She does, I guess what you could call Christian celebrities, and some of them aren't celebrities at all. They're just people who have a book on their heart, and they're not necessarily a writer, so they need somebody to help them with the writing part of it. Mm-hmm. She's had a few books on the New York Times bestseller list, and in fact, she had a #1 New York Times bestseller. So if you want to learn how to write memoir, Susie is your girl. She is really good at it.
And that's going to be one of the options, even though it's actually sold out. We're going to talk about that in a moment, but the memoirs are really, they're growing. The interest for memoirs is growing. Now I know it is in authors. Is it also growing in the audiences, Laura?
I think it all depends on who your audience is for your memoir, and if there's really a need out there for that particular, niche topic, whatever it is that you happen to be writing about. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a huge and growing genre in writing, and it's also one that interests almost every writer, especially new writers, because we all have a story to tell. Yes. We have things that have happened in our lives that we can use to positively impact the lives of other people based on what we have learned through those experiences. And those often come out in the form of a memoir.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see, how did you, you said earlier, I was going to ask you how you and Susie met, but you said that was at prior conferences. You had just reconnected, and so forth through a few years.
Yes, we met 10 or 12 years ago at the Mount Hermon Christian Writers Conference. In fact, we were just talking about that last night. We both attended a track by Ellie Kay, who was doing some media training. We both had books that we had written, and we were ready to start thinking about how to market those, and also going on some radio and TV shows as a form of helping to market our books. Neither of us had much experience being actually, on the guest on a TV show or a radio show, even though both of us have a very strong journalism background. And so we met in that particular class and became friends, and that was it. We just our friendship deepened over the years as we saw each other at writers' conferences. And now that we've served on the board of West Coast Christian Writers Conference together since 2014, we've become very close friends.
This is another example of going to a conference and meeting someone who's a soulmate, becomes a business partner, becomes a ministry partner, fill in the blank. But that's not going to happen while we're still at home. True. Unlikely. It's very unlikely if we never get out of the house, if we never go to a conference of any kind. And what would you say? Now, you mentioned the sort of tone and environment that you and Susie are creating, and you and the board are creating there. But what would you say to someone? Can you remember far enough back to remember that how intimidating it was to venture out in this bold new world? Yes, I totally remember that. What's a little bit ironic is my first career just out of college, which was so long ago I can barely remember. I was a high school English and journalism teacher. So and I have a master's degree in teaching English and journalism. So I know a thing or two about the English language and about writing, and I taught it for many, many years. So when a friend first invited me to go to a writers' conference, I'm like, what do I need to do that for? I already know everything there is to know about writing. Oh. Anyway, we went, and whoa, it was like, okay. I may know a lot about writing, but I know absolutely nothing about the publishing industry or the Christian publishing industry. It's a whole different ballgame. So it was really an eye-opener. And there are levels and intricacies and nuances that just keep going. You could do it your whole life and still not learn everything because it's also very fluid. It moves and reshapes itself consistently. Not decade to decade, but sometimes month to month or year to year, doesn't it? Oh, yeah. And one thing, Patricia, that I've really noticed now that I've been in leadership of a writers' conference is that at a typical writers' conference, you're going to get anywhere from a third to a half of the attendees who this is their very first writers' conference ever. And that is so exciting to us because we're seeing these people
they're stepping out in faith. It's a scary experience. And so we just want to come alongside them and nurture them and help to calm their fears as much as possible, and to make the Writers Conference experience a really positive, uplifting, and challenging one. You don't just go to, have everybody, pat you on the back and stuff, but you really go to learn, you go to be challenged. And so finding that balance is really critical when putting on a Writers Conference.
I'm so glad that you mentioned 1/3 to 1/2 of all attendees every year at any general Christian Writers or Speakers Conference. They're brand new. So the enemy tells you, viewers, if you've never been before and you're considering or praying or thinking, even if it's just a big step to even think about it, I remember those days. The enemy will say you're going to be the only one who's new. You're going to be the only one who doesn't know everybody. 500 people, 200 people, whatever the number is, he's going to try to block you by planting fear or doubt in yourself or financial difficulties. And we've got some scholarship information here to talk about in a moment. Push through what he's saying to you.
Yeah.
Listen to what these directors are saying. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I can attest to that first-timer experience, because I went to a conference, a Christian Writers Conference this past summer. I was actually on the faculty, but it was my very first time at this conference. So I'm wandering around this large convention hotel going, I'm not going to know anybody. It's so scary. I'm not going to be able to find my classroom. All.
Yeah.
Am I wearing the right clothes? all those fears, that stupid fears, that attack you when you're a first timer at a conference. And so I walk up to the registration table, because I didn't know where I was going. Usually faculty registers at one place and attendees register somewhere else. And so I just randomly walked up to this table. Well, this woman is sitting there behind the table, and she looks at me and she goes, I know you. And I looked at her and I looked at her name tag. She had been one of my students when I was teaching high school back in the day. So I recall her as a 16-year-old, but she was like in her 40s now. But it was awesome, because it was like I'm wandering around like this little lost sheep, and the very first person I see was somebody from my past. It was just fantastic.
That sounds like God, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He's so organized. Let's see. Let's look at Facebook and see if we have any comments or questions. Robbie Pink was with us, but she lives close by, about an hour and a half away, and the storm got her, so she's going to rejoin us later. Janelle Wood is here. So good to see you, Janelle, as always. She said that she was at the Oregon Christian Writers Conference this summer and purchased the audio files. She's been listening to them to the various sessions and enjoyed listening to you. So I'm assuming that you were at the Oregon Christian Writers Conference.
Yes, that was the one I was talking about, where I didn't know anybody.
She said, this summer was my first conference and I was so scared, but I'm planning on going to more. Yes, yes, yes. And have to do it in faith most all the time. I have a book proposal ready, thanks to how much I was challenged and encouraged by going to this conference. Thank you for sharing about the newbie feelings. You're so welcome, Janelle. And everyone feels that. And true or false, Laura, even if you're established in one field over here, and you just mentioned that a minute ago in a different version, you're still intimidated, or potentially the enemy wants to intimidate us, because if he can stop us from going, look at what work he doesn't have to bother with anymore, because we haven't even gotten out of the gate. But it's very normal. You can be successful here and start here and still have those same newbie feelings. And there's nothing to be ashamed about or apologetic. You're not doing anything wrong. This is not a sign that God doesn't want you to go.
Yeah. And, I think, Patricia, one of the difficult challenges about attending your first Writers Conference is that so many of us writers are introverts, and some of us are extreme introverts. So we gain energy from being by ourselves, burying ourselves in a book or in words or whatever. And when you're at a writers conference with several hundred other people, and you kind of have to be an extrovert for about 8 hours, that can be a very draining experience. True. And at West Coast Christian Writers, we really recognize that, because I would say that 7 out of the 8 of us on our board of directors are introverts. And so we get it. We understand just what a challenge that can be to put yourself out there going into a new space, meeting people you've never met before. And we're all really, those of us on the board, we're struggling with the same thing, because we have to turn on that extrovert switch also for a couple of days, go out, shake everybody's hand, help them to feel welcome. It's really something we feel called to do, and we love doing it. But it's kind of difficult for some of us who are introverts. And so all these introverts, you get, 300 introverts there together with about 5 extroverts mixed in. It's an interesting situation.
Oh my goodness. So let's go right to the fact that one of the things that I noticed on the schedule, we're going to start all the way at the top here in just a moment. One of the things that I noticed on the schedule is that you don't run people in the ground. You have actual, just like business hours. Things are not scheduled from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. for, every day. It's exhausting, isn't it?
You mean at the conference? Yeah.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's do it to start at the nuts and the bolts. The name of the conference is the West Coast Christian Writers Conference.
Yes.
The dates are?
The dates are February, the main conference, a 2-day conference, is all day, February 15th and 16th, 2019. And then we have a special, this is brand new, we call it Pre-Conference Mini Mastermind Day, which is Valentine's Day, February 14th, and that goes all day long on February 14th. And so basically you can sign up for both if you want, and you get a full 3-day conference. But the Mini Mastermind Day is an add-on. It has an extra fee attached to it, which is $139 for the full day, which is a fantastic price. And then you have the full 2-day conference, which goes from about, I think, 8:30 in the morning till around 4:30 in the afternoon each day. And we have worked in, we are very cognizant of the fact that people need downtime. And the number one thing that we have heard from people who have attended our conference is they love the small group interaction. Going to a bunch of general sessions and a bunch of general sessions with the keynote speakers, and then a bunch of workshops throughout the day can get very exhausting very quickly, and you can just get this complete mental overwhelm. And so we have built in several features to this conference to give people some small group experiences and some downtime. And I can go into more detail about those whenever you're ready. So,
well, let's do that right now, please.
Okay. Let me look at my notes really quick.
Okay.
Okay, so we have about 4 different ways that people can get a small group experience within a larger conference setting throughout those 2 days. And one of them is called, well, we're still thinking of a catchy title for it, but for now, let's just call it a roundtable.
Okay.
And this is being led up by Wendy Lawton and Janet Grant, who are literary agents at Books and Such in Santa Rosa, California. They're huge supporters of West Coast Christian Writers Conference, and we are just delighted to have both of them on board heading up this. It's a brand new feature that we're adding this year to the conference. And so what it's going to look like, and we're still working out the details, so this is, well, you're the first one to hear this.
Yay! So just be aware that this may change, but
it may change a little bit. But this is kind of what it's going to look like, is that we're going to have about 6 to 8 people who are going to be meeting in a small group with an industry professional. So either an experienced freelance writer, author, or an editor or agent. We will have several editors and agents attending or participating on the faculty at the conference. And so when you're in this small group of 8 to 10, which I believe is going to meet for about an hour at a time, and we have various slots scheduled throughout the 2 days that this is going to be happening. So like you could skip a workshop and go do the small group thing. And, yeah. And so you would go in there, let's say I have an idea for a book, but I'm really not sure what to do with it. I could, in this small group, I can share my idea. I can get feedback from not just the industry professional who's facilitating the workshop, but from everybody in the group. Is this going to work? Is this not going to work? Who's the audience? Kind of to help us to flesh out some of those ideas and get some great feedback, instant feedback, and some professional coaching. And this is included in the conference fee. And I believe that what's going to be happening is that, well, no, I'm going to stop there because I'm not. I don't want to say something that. then I'm not sure as far as like, do you have to send something in advance? I don't think you have to for the roundtables. I think you just show up with your idea. I'm not sure if you have to like put your name in advance in order to choose which one you're going to go to. I'll have more details on that later, and we'll put those up on the website as soon as we have that all worked out.
Okay. So we've got the regular conference, which is 2 days, then the potential add-on, which is the day before, which is not Thanksgiving, but Valentine's Day. That's also an additional charge. But then the roundtables are something that is just part of the conference fee and just more good stuff.
Right, and there's 2 other things that are also part of the conference that give you opportunities for small group coaching. And one of them is a face-to-face appointment. We have what we call coaching and critique. They're basically 2 different things. But with the coaching, it's face-to-face, one-on-one, 15 to 20-minute appointment with an industry professional where you can ask them questions about whatever you're struggling with, whatever challenges you have. You can get feedback from them and personal coaching from them. And so essentially what you'll do is there's a person who coordinates the coaching and critique sessions, and you will give people a way to contact the coordinator, and the coordinator will then assign people with a coach who she thinks would be best suited for their topic that they want to discuss. And then the next thing where you can get a lot of personal attention is called critique. And that actually is it's a very small fee, but it's a small paid add-on. Takes place during the regular 2-day conference. You would send email some pages from a work in progress to the person who's coordinating the coaching and critique. And then you will meet with an industry professional who will again, it's a 15 to 20-minute appointment, and that person will give you a written critique before you get to the conference, and then a verbal critique and coaching session at the conference itself.
Okay, that's great.
So, really valuable.
Yes, so you would submit that beforehand. All this information is either currently on the website. Some of the website pages about the conference have information coming, but still keep up with it there. And the work in progress would be submitted before the conference so that the faculty member can work it into their normal, busy, professional and personal schedules. And you get that results in writing before the conference. Then you could come and meet with them and get feedback and toss new ideas around. That's cool. Usually there's only one of those 2 elements, not both put together.
Right. And, the thing I like about it is I do believe that some of the agents and editors who are attending West Coast Christian Writers will be part of that critique and coaching, either one or the other or both. But it's at a lot of conferences, you kind of have to scramble to find an editor, and you don't know if they're going to be able to talk to them or not. And then, maybe you have the completely wrong project that you're pitching to a particular editor or agent. And it's a waste of everybody's time when that happens. And so having it sent in ahead of time and having a person coordinate it who knows all of these editors and agents and industry pros, she knows what each one of them specializes in. You can request 3 different appointments, and then she'll attempt to match you up with at least one of those 3 people. And so chances are good that if you want to meet with a particular industry professional, that you'll have an appointment with that person sometime during the conference.
And for each of those critiques, there's that same additional small fee times 3 if you get 3, for example.
I don't know if you can get 3. That's I'm not 100% sure whether you get. I think everybody who signs up for critique is guaranteed 1. Okay. And then if there is space, I think that they'll open it up for additional.
Okay. All right. So written feedback before and personal feedback at the conference.
Yeah.
And these things by the time they arrive, these things are already worked out. They don't have to, the burden is not on the attendee to make sure that all these things fall into place. It's already done for them.
The only burden on the attendee is getting your work in progress ready to submit for the critique.
Do you happen to know what the time frame is for that critique submission?
I do not know that yet, but we should have that information finalized and up on the website within the next 2 weeks.
Okay. All right. Let's see. And the conference is the middle of February. So could
Right.
we generalize and say by the middle of December, so people who are watching it right now can just get some feel for it?
Yeah, I would say the information should be available um, probably by before Thanksgiving. So by the 19th of November, I would say.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let me check on Facebook and see if we've got anything going over here. Okay. Janelle is still here. Robbie probably will not be able to join us again. Let's say the location is in Livermore, California. What's the largest city there? Close to.
You're asking a Washingtonian where the largest city is.
Is it San Francisco?
San Francisco.
Okay.
I live in the Seattle area, and I fly into the Oakland International Airport, which is very close to San Francisco.
Okay.
And Livermore is about a 20 to, depending on traffic, 20 to 30-minute drive from Oakland Airport. So it's really close. And it's all on freeways, super easy to get to, hard to get lost. Livermore is, and this is me as an outsider kind of giving you my impression of what it's like there. You go through, the city and suburbia, and then all of a sudden you come to these beautiful green rolling fields and pasture land and dairy farms. And so you're out in the country, and so you're driving along, and then you take the exit to get to the church, which is called Crosswinds Church. That's the venue that hosts the conference. It is a converted dairy farm.
Oh.
And it's super cute. It's a brand new church, and it has this real kind of rustic wood vibe. There's all sorts of green fields surrounding it. They've done some really fun things, like they have this big dairy cow statue. That's, it's not dairy cow. You can sit on it, and take pictures and stuff. And they have little red wagons and bales of hay. And so it's got this real funky dairy vibe to it. Mm-hmm. And really the nice thing about it, if you like to shop and you're coming in from out of town like I am, and you want to spend some time in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is an awesome place to be a tourist, you can book a couple extra days, go be a tourist, and there's a very large San Francisco factory outlet mall right next to the church. I mean, like right next to it. So
that's a win-win. Yeah, factory outlets I have to stay away from because they are my best friend. I can't even step on the property or I get sucked into the vortex. Let's see. Let's talk about scholarships, please.
Okay. We do. We have a scholarship program set up, and essentially the way that there's two different ways that works. If you are in need of a scholarship, well, let me flip that around. If you would like to donate to the scholarship fund, when you go to register for the conference, and there's a registration page at westcoastchristianwriters.com. You can't miss it. It's there. Mm-hmm. And you just scroll down to near the bottom of that registration page, and it's got a little form there where it says, would you like to donate to the scholarship fund? And you can put in any amount from $10 to $10 million and donate to the scholarship fund. And it's a tax-deductible donation because we're a 501c3 corporation, I guess it would be called. We're Inspire Christian Writers is our parent organization, our umbrella organization. We can talk more about that in a minute. But so people can donate to the scholarship fund that way. And we also have an extensive sponsorship/partnership program that includes a way for people to donate a scholarship to someone in need.
Generally or specifically?
It could be either way.
Okay.
Yeah, we're pretty open-ended on that. Okay. And so I would just suggest going to the, let me quick bop over there and look at the page title is called Sponsorship. So easy to find on the website, westcoastchristianwriters.com. So you can, if you're interested in sponsoring a portion of the conference or sponsoring a scholarship or sponsoring a specific individual to attend, there are options to do that. And what's really awesome, I think, is that we're having one-day sale on conference registration on Cyber Monday, which is the Monday after Thanksgiving, which is November 26th. And you can register for the full 2-day conference for $139, which is $70 off the early bird registration price of $209. So $139, basically you're getting 2 days for the price of one, which is, I mean, you can't beat that deal at Christian Writers Conference.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. And so my suggestion would be, okay, you're going to get 2 days for the price of one. So why not take, if you have another $139 sitting around, why not sponsor somebody? Why not invite a friend to come with you and just buy their ticket for them? Nice. And so on Cyber Monday, you could buy 2 tickets and you and a friend could both attend the conference for the price that it would cost just one person to attend if you don't take advantage of that sale. So,
and that price is reasonable for almost any budget.
Yeah, and particularly in the San Francisco Bay Area, the cost of living there is pretty high. And so people are used to paying more for high value events. And this is definitely a high value event. You are going to definitely get your money's worth and more at this conference.
Now that fee does or does not include lodging and meals, Laura?
It includes, no, it does not include lodging or meals.
Okay.
There are several nice hotels within about 2 miles of the church where we're hosting the conference. And there are also tons and tons of restaurants in the area. So you can get everything from fast food to a really nice sit-down meal. Mm-hmm. At the conference itself, we do offer lunch, and it costs $12 extra per day for lunches. And it's going to be catered by the amazing Marcy Seither, who is awesome at hospitality and catering. And she has all sorts of really great stuff planned, including some vegan options and some gluten-free options.
Okay. So once again, you've covered all the bases to make sure that people have what they need and even what they want, usually.
Yeah.
Nice. So let's see.
I forgot one thing, Patricia. This is super important. A donut wall. We're going to have a donut wall.
Yes. Tell us about the donut wall. That may put us over the top.
Well, this is Marcy's idea, and she's like, we have to have a donut wall. I don't even know quite how to explain it, but it's like a piece of wood or something. You know, it's actually like in the shape of a wall, very large, and it's got pegs all around it and donuts hanging on the pegs. So you can just walk up and so we have lots of snacks. We like snacks. We like snack time. So this year we're featuring Marcy's amazing donut wall. So stay tuned. It's going to be awesome.
Expect to see pictures on the website immediately after the conference.
I think she's building it right now. She's got commissioned to one of her relatives to build it for her.
It's crazy fun right there. So let's go back to the submissions or the scholarships for just a moment. Do people just apply and then they're told yes or no, or is there something they need to create, write, and submit?
That I don't know yet. And again, that will be coming in a couple weeks on the website. There will be a special page on the website called scholarships. And so we'll include some details about how to submit a scholarship application. Okay. I think right now for people who might be in need of a scholarship, if you just go to the contact page on the website and send an email which will go to Susie, the director, you can just let her know that you're in need of a scholarship. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of informally collect those names and then we anonymously or confidentially award those to people in need.
Thank you for saying that, because I know there's going to be somebody watching who didn't have that answer, and that was exactly what he or she needed to hear. So
I hope it was the right answer. I'm making stuff up as I go along.
I'm sure that it's appropriate to contact the director and say I'm interested in a scholarship, and just put me in line for that. But that doesn't obligate Susie. That doesn't mean that you'll get a scholarship. No. That means that you may be eligible for a scholarship, and they can get that information to you. Also, we talked about earlier that the early bird prices they end on January the 1st. Now, is that really midnight December the 31st?
Oh, wow. Um,
Let's say probably.
I think it is. I think it's 11:59 p.m. on December 31st.
So that is the early bird prices, but then the regular registration prices are in effect because you're taking people all the way up until the conference begins, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yes. And and walk-ins, if you decide on February 15th that you want to come, just show up. You're welcome to just walk in.
Okay, great. That's all really important information. Excuse me. So you've got some major players on your faculty roster. Tell us about them, please, Laura.
Well, I would say that what we try to do is, first, our number one goal is to get people to be on faculty who are experienced at teaching, specifically at writers' conferences. They know kind of what to expect. They know what the audience is like. They know what their needs are. There are people who have been in the Christian publishing industry in some aspect, usually for quite a few years. And also, we try to draw in most of the faculty from the San Francisco Bay area. That is a huge metropolitan area, and it's very rich in talent. And so we want really to help, because it is mostly a regional conference, we want to help people to feel very connected to other writers who live in their area. The other thing about this conference is it's not specifically focused on helping people to get their book published. You know, a lot of people have a book that they want to write, but we also bring in people to to present on topics like growing your speaking, how to market your writing, children's writing. In California, the movies are a big deal, so screenplay writing and script writing, devotional writing, memoir writing. And then another biggie that a lot of conferences tend to neglect is article writing for magazines, newspapers, blogs. That can be a really great way to get your writing out there quickly and also to earn a nice income at the same time. So we try to make it the offerings to cover a wide variety of genres, both fiction and nonfiction, and everything in between. And so the faculty that we recruit, typically they tend to specialize in whatever genre that they happen to be teaching on at the conference.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And if they're pretty much close to the conference location, that helps you as the board to keep those costs down, doesn't it?
Yes.
Oh, how nice for everybody. I appreciate you mentioning the article writing in particular, because not always, but that's not a mainstay at every single Christian Writers Conference, unless it's already a conference exclusively for magazine writers. So to have it on its equal path and equal track, that's really, really helpful.
Well, I think a lot of people, when they go to a writers conference, and let's say you meet with an editor or agent, and they look at your book proposal, and the editor and agent most often is going to say, I want to see you get some published clips first before you're ready to publish a book. You need to show that you can build an audience. You need to show that you know who your reader is. I need to see that you can write and that you're publishing on a consistent basis. And so article writing and blogging, a lot of people blog professionally. I'm one of them. I've done it for years. You can get things published fairly quickly that way, and you can develop a very large readership through doing things like writing articles and blogging. And so we want to really encourage people to do that, because we know that that's the first step that a lot of editors and agents are going to recommend that a beginning writer take anyway. And so let's give them some training on that. Let's help them develop the craft of writing articles. Super important.
Yes. And it also helps you build your platform. You get a little bit of momentum, or more than a little bit momentum. And you are more valuable if and when Christ gives you a book to write. You've already got a following. You already are savvy about online techniques and strategies and communicating clearly and all those factors that are so necessary, and even marketing that are so necessary when you do have that book in your hand.
Yeah, and with the marketing, you and I haven't really talked about the mini mastermind day yet, but I wanted to kind of mention that a little bit, because That's the pre-conference add-on day that happens February 14th. And we're having 5 different, what we call mini mastermind seminars. They're day-long seminars where they're limited to 8 people per seminar. And you are going to be in a small group with an industry professional. 2 of those seminars have to do specifically with marketing. One of them is being led by Kathy Lipp, who has written many, many dozens of, I don't know how many books, 15, 20 books. Sorry, Kathy, I can't remember the exact. She's written a lot of books. And she also has an amazing speaking career, and she is the founder of the Leverage Speaker Conference, which I believe is going on today. I think today's the final day of it. And she's going to be doing some things on how to prepare for launching your book, the marketing aspect of that. And then I'm teaching another one, mini mastermind on marketing, and my bent is specifically websites. So how to write the content for a couple of the key pages that are going to be on your author or speaker or ministry website, the home page and the about page. And so we'll do a lot of website planning, because really, if an editor or agent wants to learn more about you, the very first thing they're going to do is Google you, and then they're going to go visit your website, and they're going to see how professionally you present yourself there. So that's a really important basic marketing piece that some authors tend to ignore when they're first starting out. And we believe that that's very important, that they get that up and running. So we're offering 2 marketing sessions during the mini mastermind day, in addition to several other marketing workshops throughout the main conference.
And all of that information about the conference itself, of course, and the the roundtable, the coaching, the critique, all of that is available on the website. We've got all those links for you already pulled up. I'm going to post them after this episode is over. But the mini masterminds, I mean, that's just a lot of punch all at one time. You get in there and you get the job done, but it sounds like it's a deep dive, Laura.
Yeah, and there's what we're planning those to be is a lot of small group interaction, small group coaching. So you're not just going in and I'm going to lecture at you for 8 hours. No, that's not going to happen. I'll be doing, well, me and the other 5 people or 4 people that are teaching the mini masterminds, we'll do some teaching time, and then there will be a time we're working on stuff. We're writing, we're critiquing, we're discussing, we're actually creating during that day. So it gives you a real opportunity to get instant feedback from the other 7 people that are going to be in the class with you, and to create something, and to make some really good progress forward.
I love that. I love that. Viewers, if you've never happened to have been to a Christian Writers or Speakers Conference, one of the things that is a benefit that is, everybody says it, but let's just scope it out here for a moment. We could be by ourselves in our home office working for years and years and years, and potentially still not making the progress that we need to make. We're satisfied with it, but we need a professional who says, this is good, let me publish it. That's what we're looking for typically. But when you go to one conference, just one, it's possible that you could streamline your efforts and reduce your learning curve by years. Isn't that true, Laura?
Oh, most definitely. Susie and I were teaching a workshop at a different writers conference earlier this year, and several of the people came up to us afterwards, and they're like, oh, I had no idea that there were all these different types of writing that I could try. So I think a lot of attending a writers conference is just expanding your mind, and just going, oh, wow, here's something that really sounds interesting. I'd like to give this a shot.
That's a great point. And going back to the genres, you do fiction and nonfiction, but then on the genres, do you do Christian, historical Christian? Do you do sci-fi? How broad is that scope?
I would say that there are workshops that cover a variety of those different topics. Sarah Sundin is going to be teaching the mini mastermind day on fiction techniques. And I know she specializes in writing historical fiction that takes place during World War II. So, and she's awesome. She is so organized. I've attended several of her workshops in the past, and she's like a load of great information on writing fiction.
So good. So
yeah,
good.
we will have a variety of different types of workshops that people can attend. Oh, and I totally forgot to mention our keynote speakers. Oops.
Yes, yes,
You were
yes.
talking about the high caliber of faculty that we have. We have a couple of amazing keynote speakers lined up. Robin Jones-Gunn is going to be one of our keynote speakers. She is just delightful and an amazing writer. And she just had one of her books was converted into a Hallmark Christmas movie, which I think just aired. It's like #1 on the Hallmark Channel right now. Just fantastic. And our other keynoter is Bill Giovanetti, who is a writer and a pastor at a church in Redding, California. And I've heard him speak before too, and he is so engaging, just has loads of knowledge, and he's just, you feel like he's your best friend. He and Robin both, it's like you meet them and you instantly become their friend. They're great, and I think that our audience is going to just love them.
Barb Haley is here. Hello, Barb. It's so good to see you, friend. One of the things that I appreciate so much, I haven't been to every conference there is. I mean, that's not normal. That's not normally somebody's abilities. But the ones that I have been, it's astounding to me how kind and generous and friendly the truly well-known, very established writers or speakers, they're there to help, not to be adored, but to help.
Yes.
We're not accustomed to that. Usually in a secular environment, not bashing any secular environments, but typically in a normal business environment, the higher you go, the more lofty you are, and the more lofty your attitude, and the less likely you are to tell your super secret technique because you don't want anybody to know it. But when you get a bunch of Christians together, we're all on the same team. We want to help each other.
Yeah. I love that. About every Christian Writers Conference I've been to has had that same vibe to it, where you can feel a little bit intimidated, but it's like, ooh, there's so-and-so best-selling author who I've read all their books and I'm just like a big fangirl of them. But then you get there and they're just like, hey, and you go, oh, they're just a regular person and this just is what they do for a living. And I mean, I don't want to diminish that at all, but it's, you find out that they're a regular person who has the same struggles that you do. And they may be a few steps ahead of you in the publishing process, but they're there to give back. And I absolutely love that. When we choose our faculty, we are so careful to choose people who have a real heart for ministry, and the #1 thing they want to do is to give back to writers.
Some of the most generous people I've met have been leaders in the Christian writing field. Let's see. So what else we want to talk about? Oh, let's run over. This is in February, but it's in San Francisco, and that's not always a consistent climate. So tell us about attire, the climate, what kind of weather to maybe expect, what kind of terrain. Excuse me. What can we expect in that area?
Well, okay, let me just say this. Being from Washington, where it's like super miserable for 10 months out of the year and all it does is rain, rain, rain. I go to California and I'm like, whoa, the weather's awesome. It's so hot here. All the Californians are like, oh, it's so cold. So it all depends on your perspective.
Yeah, it's true.
This is what I wore. I mean, I wore this shirt at the conference, I think this last year, and I was very comfortable. But in February of 2018, when we had our conference, it was about 75 degrees. It was beautiful, sunny, gorgeous, awesome day. The previous year, it rained the entire time, and it was in the 50s or 60s. So my suggestion would just be to dress comfortably. This is a very casual conference where we want you to feel comfortable in your own skin. So business casual, comfortable clothing, because you're going to be sitting and up and moving around. So comfortable shoes. You're not there to dress to impress, so you don't have to go to the factory outlet mall and buy like a whole new wardrobe, unless you want to, of course.
That's after the conference.
But people come in everything from jeans and boots to some women wear dresses, and I don't think I've seen a man wearing a suit. They're usually, just a casual shirt and slacks. So just business casual, just be comfortable.
Okay. Perfect answer. Two other questions. The recordings of the conference, are they available after the conference is over to the general public or only to the attendees?
They are also available to the general public. The attendees at the conference itself, will be offered a much lower price on the recordings than the general public will later.
Okay.
So usually about 2 or 3 weeks after the conference, we'll have the recordings all edited and ready to go and up on the website so the general public could purchase them if they want. We try to keep things fairly streamlined with the recordings, where we'll offer, it's kind of like a one-size-fits-all, where you pay a flat fee and you get the entire conference, which will include all the keynotes, all the workshops. It will not include the mini mastermind day, the pre-conference day. We also have what we call lightning talks during our general sessions. And I don't know if you're familiar with a lightning talk, but these are really fun. And this is something we experiment with all kinds of stuff at this conference. A lightning talk is where you get up in front of, but we have specific people that are assigned to do this. So it's not like we're going to pull you out of the audience.
Thank you.
But Marcy Seither's doing one on publishing trends. Sarah Sunden's doing one on momentum, which is the theme for this year's conference. Andrea Coley is doing a lightning talk that makes fun of lightning talks. She's a improv comedian and also a pastor. And I think Kathy Lipp is doing a lightning talk on social media as well. But what a lightning talk is, it lasts for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. And during that 5 minutes, you have 20 slides showing on the big screen, and the slides auto advance every 15 seconds. So you have to be right on target with your timing. And so it's a great way for people to it's kind of like a mini TED Talk, like a really mini TED Talk. So they come in and they address one topic in 5 minutes with 20 slides, and boom. And so the audience gets this rich content and entertainment as well. And you also get to see modeled for you how a good speaker prepares their speaking presentation.
Because if you've got hours to present, then anybody can do that. But can you be tight and effective in a very small window? That brings the competition down way down. I like that idea. I have not heard of lightning talks.
Oh, they're really fun. People love them.
It sounds like that would be really fun. Let's see. We've got Barb here, Janelle, Robbie, just checking to make sure if we have anybody, because we want to, as always, we want to respond to you if you have a question or a comment, even after when the program is over. We're going to be available. We'll get back to you because we want to answer your questions. Okay, so people who are interested, and whether they're already registered or not, we want to keep in touch with what's going on. How do we stay updated? You got the website, I know. Is there a Facebook group for the conference?
The Facebook group is a private group, and so once you register for the conference, you are invited to join that group.
Okay.
And that's where we will post all the latest, greatest information and upcoming. We've been talking about a lot of things during our hour here today, Patricia, that we don't quite have on the website yet. They're still in progress. Yeah. But as soon as that stuff is released, then we put an announcement in the Facebook group. We also have a newsletter, a mailing list that you can sign up for. You go to westcoastchristianwriters.com and click on the news page. And there's a big form there that you can fill out to subscribe to our newsletter. Now, you don't have to be attending the conference to subscribe to the newsletter. It's just general information. We send out once a month a newsletter that's packed with really practical writing tips and some other just basic information about the conference. And then now that we're getting very close to the time, registration is open. We're actively getting people signing up for the conference. We're providing little e-blasts in between those monthly newsletters that give people a little bit of information about specific things. So again, as soon as information becomes available, it goes out to our email list. And so I would encourage you that if you're interested in the conference, want to learn more about it, keep up with the latest information, to just go to westcoastchristianwriters.com, sign up for the newsletter, and then when you register for the conference on Cyber Monday with that great price, $139, you'll then be invited to also join the Facebook group.
Okay. And does the Facebook group, is it stay active throughout the year?
It does. It's not particularly active. After the conference is over, it becomes an alumni group.
Okay.
So it's people who have attended that conference, and then we kind of reopen it again when we get closer to the conference.
So this year's group will travel together.
Yes.
And then if they will travel even after the conference, that they will travel together. Then next year's group attendees, they will have their own group that they.
No, it's actually the same group. It just morphs. So basically, the new people that are joining the group are joining alumni who attended the last conference.
There we go. Okay.
So it's all one big happy family.
That's good. That's good. So many things that they would be able to share and soothe weary hearts, or those who are just wondering, is this really for me? Because the director is, going to suggest it, but when you have alumni, this is how it helped me. This way. Somebody else chimes in. The next thing you know, you're pumped up and all your fears are gone.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people have questions like, what do I wear to the conference? Just, you're going to your first conference ever. That's really a big question that a lot of people have. And so in the Facebook group, that's a really safe, confidential place where you can ask those sorts of questions, and people who have been to the conference before are going to reach out to you. They're going to assuage those fears that you might be having and help you to feel, and they're like, hey, I'll be there to meet you at the conference. Let's meet in front of the fire pit at 8:30, and we'll sit together. So you can easily find somebody to connect with in that Facebook group.
Yeah. The first writers conference I went to, it was before Facebook either was available to the world, and I took the wrong clothes and the wrong shoes. Oh, my feet were so miserable. I had no idea how long I was going to have to walk from one place to the other.
Oh, no.
And each conference is different. So some conferences, Cindy yesterday talked about the actual Christian Writers Conference, and everything's in the same building. Others, you may have a campus. Typically, they're at a church or on a campus, a university campus, and you may walk a good bit. So do pay attention, especially if you have.
There's not a whole lot of walking at West Coast Christian Writers Conference because it is on the grounds of a medium-sized church. And so essentially you're walking from the auditorium/sanctuary out into the main lobby, across an outdoor patio area that has lots of chairs where people have lunch, and then into a building that has a lot of classrooms in it, which is where we have the workshops and the coaching and critique. Okay. So it's very compact. And it's also very wheelchair friendly. I recall there being lots of wheelchair ramps, and it's just very accessible to people who might have a disability. And parking lot, huge parking lot right out in front of the church, free parking. So it's really a nice venue.
All of those points are excellent points, and we needed to hear those. We didn't talk about it at the very beginning, but let's just roughly, before we close out, let's roughly circle back to Inspire is the parent, is the 501c3 ministry, and the conference falls under the umbrella of Inspire. And there's a membership that's got benefits for people who, not only for people who join, but if you would then attend the conference, there's a price break. So can you run through that with us?
Yes, Inspire Christian Writers was started in Northern California, and the current president is Robin Miller, and they have a board of directors, just like West Coast Christian Writers does. We kind of consider them the critique group branch, and we're the conference branch of the same organization. They have a lot of local and regional, I think they might even have some online critique groups where they get people together and they meet, critique one another's writing. They also have just pop-up sessions where they'll say, hey, In 2 weeks from today, we're meeting at a restaurant at 6 p.m. and just a bunch of writers come and get together, and we'll just get to know each other and network and talk. So very informal things. They also offer some workshops here and there. I know that Robin Miller is coming up to Washington State in about 10 days. They're moving Inspire Christian Writers. They're starting a Washington branch. Yay, so excited. And she's coming up to do a pop-up in Lyndon, Washington, which is near Bellingham, right on near the Canadian border. And then she's going to be teaching on a Saturday, I believe it's the 17th of November. She's teaching like a 3-hour workshop also. And then she's doing one in Lacey, Washington, which is Olympia, that's south of Tacoma, south of Seattle, where the state capital is. And she's going to be doing the same thing the next day, so doing a pop-up in the same workshop. So she's doing north and south of Seattle, moving Inspire and their critique groups up and getting a foothold in this neck of the woods in the Pacific Northwest. But they're mainly focused in California, and they have critique groups going throughout California. So they're our cheerleaders, our supporters, and we work very closely with them. And in terms of if you are a member of Inspire Christian Writers, once we revert back to the early bird price or then the general admission price for the conference, when you're an Inspire member, I believe it's $30 off the registration fee for Inspire members. And I think Inspire members only pay like $50 a year for their full membership. So basically you pay for your membership if you attend this conference. And I know they also offer that same discount for several other writers conferences up and down the West Coast. So it's a great deal, great way to network. We're very supportive of each other's organizations, and Robin comes to all of our board meetings and to our retreats. And then Jane Daly, who's our finance director for West Coast Christian Writers, also happens to be the finance director for Inspire Christian Writers. So we have a lot of crossover with people working in both branches of the organization.
Nice. All right, viewers, if you want to go to not the early bird, if you want to go to the mini mastermind, that's an additional $139. It's on Valentine's Day, all day long, a deep dive onto one topic or one focus, and they're already selling out. So pay attention to what you might do. Go ahead and do your research, start your praying. Can they come and go? Do they have to get the whole package, or can they take a day? Or
just the mini mastermind? Yeah, you could. I don't really recommend it because I think you're going to want the whole conference, especially after you've gone through that day. You're going to go, I want the whole conference experience. But technically, yes, you could register just for a mini mastermind. And you can do that anytime. The registration is open right now. And so even if you want to wait until Cyber Monday to register for the full 2-day conference, you probably want to get in and register for the mini mastermind right now, because like I said, those are limited to 8 people each, and one of them has already sold out. So you want
that price doesn't change.
That's $139 flat fee.
Yeah. So tell us again the date on the Cyber Monday, please.
Cyber Monday is November 26th. And the sale price for the conference, one day only, so starting at 7 a.m. Pacific time on November 26th, the price to register for the full 2-day West Coast Christian Writers Conference will be $139, which is $70 off the early bird price. And that fee, or that special sale price, will expire November 27th at 7 a.m. Pacific time. So it's a 24-hour sale. It starts at 7 a.m. Cyber Monday.
Okay, good to know. Good to know that. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, and you told us everything we need to know, Laura.
It was a delight. Thank you so much, Patricia, for having me on today.
You are very welcome, and we so appreciate it. They're unique, and that's what I like doing these. Every conference has its own unique aspects, and if you don't know about them, you could even potentially go to the conference itself and not be aware that you missed something wonderful that was available, but you just didn't know. And excuse me. Hopefully, this will help several people, at least several people, be inspired to go and learn and step out in faith, serve Christ, in the way that he has called them to serve him. We are so appreciative of you, Laura. We're so appreciative of you, viewers. You know, we're here every weekday to serve you, exclusively serve you. This has been Marketers on a Mission, episode number 168, West Coast Christian Writers Conference Marketing Director, Laura Christianson. Tomorrow, I'm going to be hosting Tammy Whitehurst. She is representing the Christian Communicators Speaker Summit. That's going to be held in March of next year. And this week, yes, and the last week of this month, these are the two Christian Writers and Speakers Conferences where we're having the directors come and be our guests and tell us everything they want us to know about the upcoming conferences within the first 3 or 4 months of 2019. So when we get to 2019, we'll do this again for the summer and the fall conference directors as they are interested. Once again, we're here at 12 p.m., 12 Pacific, 3 Eastern. This program is exclusively for you to help you learn the craft of professional writing and speaking from those who already do it. Why? Because we're all marketing the message God has entrusted to us, and our mission field is online, isn't it, Laura?
Definitely.
It is definitely online. Thanks very much for being here. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.